everybody. Thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate it. My name is Katie Runkle, and I am the Vice President of External Affairs and Customer Experience at Indiana Michigan Power. And we just want to thank you all so much for taking the time to participate in today's session of Understanding Your Bill on this beautiful snowy day in March. And after this week's severe windstorms, for any of you that have joined that may have experienced an outage this weekend, we appreciate your patience. We know that nobody wants to lose power, and it is an incredibly frustrating experience. And so we appreciate the kindness and the support and the patience that you gave our teams who were working around the clock to restore power. So it is an honor to serve you all, and we work every single day to earn that privilege. So we appreciate it. Now, we know that you all have a lot of choices on how to spend your time as well. And so I'm going to jump out on a limb here and say that doing a deep dive on your electric bill probably isn't at the top of your list of ways you would want to spend your time. But we are going to try to do our best to make this as informative and a great use of your time as possible. So joining me today, we have Mona Livingston. She is our Manager of Customer Service. And we have Jennifer Gooden, our Director of Regulatory Services. And so it's no secret that affordability is a big issue for everyone right now, whether it's the cost of groceries, electricity. We have heard your concerns, and we know that those concerns are heightened when you open your bill, you look at it each month, and you don't understand why you're paying for certain charges or what resources may be available to you if your bill is higher than you expected. And so today we're going to cover a few different topics to help with that. The first is help you understand the different line item charges on your bill, so what they are, why they're there. Then we're also going to share some basic troubleshooting steps. So if your bill is a little bit higher than you expected, we'll walk through some steps that you can take to take a look at your bill, and then how our team can assist you. And then we'll also cover some different ways that we can help you save, whether it's our various rate options, programs that can help you save energy and money, or payment plans and assistance options. We will also, and I think it was put in the Q&A as well, but we'll also have some time to answer your questions. So you can use the chat function to type those in. We also want to thank those that sent questions in advance. We added those in the Q&A as well, so we'll make sure to hit those, and we will get to as many as we can. And for any of those that we can't answer today, whether it's due to time or we need to research it further, we will make sure to get a response back to you following the session. And if we will try to group some of the questions together too, if there's similar themes and stuff, just to be most efficient with time. Now, one item that we won't be able to address today is if you do have individual questions about your specific bill. So later in this presentation, we'll post a link that you can use if you'd like to book a virtual appointment with one of our I&M customer service reps. They're on Mona's team, and you can discuss your specific billing question. So first, I am going to jump into the bill, and then I'll bring Mona and Jennifer back in to cover a couple different areas afterwards. So this is what a typical Indiana bill looks like, and this is the first page of your bill. And so on the left-hand side, under your name and your address, you'll see how many days you were billed for, and that's also called your billing cycle. And then there's also a summary of charges. And those are split into 3 different categories in that pie chart there. So the first is that bigger chunk, which is electric service. That is the cost of producing electricity and delivering it to your home. And we'll talk more about that in a second. The second one is the monthly service charge. And this is a flat monthly fee that pays a portion of the cost of things like meters, poles, billing, and other items that we call fixed costs. And then the last section on that pie chart is taxes and fees. And those are pass-through charges from government agencies. Now, besides the fixed fee, the rest of those charges on there on your bill are based on your usage, which we measure in kilowatt hours. And then with that usage, on the right-hand side of that bill, you'll see that little bar chart there. That is your usage history. And so you can see a summary of your current month's usage compared to the last 12 months. And this graph helps you identify just how your energy use changes month to month. You can especially see how it may change when seasons change or household activities change. It can also help you compare current usage to past months so that you can see if there's any trends or if you see any unusual spikes. Then it gives you a little bit clearer insight into why your bill might be higher or lower in that month. And Mona will talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. So then after you go through that first page, then you have, this is actually your third page of your bill, which is where we have a detailed view of the charges. And so the first charge on that side, you'll see there in that kind of second little box there is the monthly service charge. And so as I mentioned, that's flat fee. Every customer pays for it, and it covers a portion of what we call fixed costs. So, power plant infrastructure, meters, poles, wires, et cetera. And this is intended to bring help bring more predictability to your bill. And then all the rest of those charges on your bill are volumetric energy charges, which means they're based on how much electricity you use each month. And so we know when you look at that whole list there, that is a lot of line items on that bill. And we know that from questions we've received from customers, from those of you that registered, that you're wondering, where are all of these things coming from? Why are they even there? And so first, it's important to note that most of your costs are included in your base rate. And you'll see that on your bill as current billing. So that is the next line item underneath the monthly service charge. And then the remaining items are called riders, and they help adjust for real world changes in things like fuel costs, environmental requirements, and taxes. So we are going to go through line by line each of these items and explain to you what they are. So as I mentioned, the first line item is your current billing. This is the bulk of what you pay, and it's the main cost of producing and delivering electricity. And this is where the rest of the fixed charges are recovered. So I mentioned that the flat fee is a portion of the fixed charges. The rest of the fixed charges are recovered here. And you will also hear this line item referred to as the base rate. And so for the last decade or so, this rate has been updated. It's usually updated about every 2 to 3 years. And it's updated as part of our base rate case, which I will explain what that is in a second. So then the next question, or the next line item, is the fuel adjustment. And this is a pass-through charge. And it's either a pass-through charge or a credit. And it reflects changes in fuel prices like coal or uranium. And it's similar to how gas prices go up and down. It is updated twice a year through our regulator. So whereas the current billing was about every 2 to 3 years, this one, because it's tracking market prices, this one is updated twice a year. So something a lot of people don't realize is that Indiana also puts a cap on how much utilities are allowed to earn. So if we earn above that limit, then those extra dollars are returned to customers through this same fuel adjustment line item, through this same process and filing, and it's called the earnings test. And that money goes back to customers as a credit through this line item as well. So then the next line here is the best name of all time. Clearly they didn't ask the communications team to name this, but it is off-system sales margin sharing and the PJM cost rider. So this line combines a credit and a charge. So on the credit side, sometimes I&M can sell excess energy back into the electric market. And so when we do that, if we can sell it for a higher price than what it costs to generate, there's a profit, or what's called a margin. And so that part of the rider allows us to give that credit back to customers when we sell that energy. And then on the charge side, that's the PJM cost rider. That is recovering I&M's mandatory participation in PJM. It's a pass-through cost for that participation. And PJM is the regional transmission organization that coordinates the movement of electricity, wholesale electricity, across 13 states. And so I always like to think of PJM as an air traffic controller for electricity. So that is where that charge shows up. And it is this rider is updated once a year. The next line item that we have is the energy efficiency program costs. So this part of your bill funds mandatory energy savings programs. So I&M and the other utilities, we are required to offer energy efficiency and demand response programs. And so this really what it is it gives tools, customers tools to reduce usage if you choose to participate. And these programs are approved. So the things that we offer are approved through a specific regulatory review process every 3 years. And then there's an independent oversight board, and they're appointed by the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. And they make sure that we implement the programs properly. So we file the programs at the commission, and then the oversight board makes sure that we're implementing them correctly through that time. And costs are reviewed and adjusted as appropriate annually. Then there is the solar power rider. This allows I&M to recover costs associated with investments in solar projects and certain development costs associated with wind and solar projects. And this one is also updated once a year. The next one is the phase-in rate adjustment. And this lets I&M introduce new base rates. So I mentioned that current billing and base rates, and we have this rate case and this rate review process. So this phase-in adjustment basically allows us to gradually introduce those rates instead of doing it all at once. And so that just helps ease the impact on your bill, especially if that base rate is going up. It's a way to phase it in so it's not hitting your bill all at once. It's not impacting your bill all at once. And it's updated at the same time as our regular base rate reviews, which historically has been about every 2 to 3 years. Then there's the environmental cost rider. Now this allows I&M to recover costs associated with improving efficiency and reducing emissions from our fossil fuel power plants. And it's updated once a year. Then we have the resource adequacy rider. So your base rates cover the normal cost of generating electricity. But sometimes there are unexpected events, like increases in customer energy demand during the year. So sometimes, a really hot summer, there's really high demand, and that may require us to buy extra power. So this charge helps cover those additional costs to ensure that we have enough power available year-round. And then if we end up with more power than we need, we can then sell it on the market, on the energy market, and any earnings are then shared with customers through this rider as well. So again, you can kind of have a charge or a credit depending, and it is updated once a year. Then, and we're in the home stretch here, then we have the tax rider, which this recovers costs associated with certain federal tax related adjustments, and they're approved by the commission. And examples of that would be things like changes in tax law, and it's updated as needed as any of those tax laws change. And then we have state sales tax, which is a standard tax collected by the state of Indiana to help fund essential public services. And it's a pass-through on your bill. And you can think of it, similar to a sales tax that you would pay on any other goods and services. So I know that seems like a lot. It's certainly a lot of information. I know I went through that relatively quickly. So certainly if there are questions and things, we will get to those at the end. But the intent of this and the intent of all these line items on your bill is to provide better transparency on what you're paying for and why. And then it also allows for annual or semi-annual adjustments for costs that are more variable, like fuel costs. And so something that a lot of people don't realize is that regulated utilities like I&M can't change these rates on our own. So we can't look at these riders and say, oh, this tax thing changed, and so we're going to go and just change that line item on your bill. We can't do that. If a change is needed to any of these line items, we have to file a formal request with the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, and they take a thorough look at everything. So an example of this is what we just announced with related to base rates. So we are planning to file a base rate case proposal this summer, and that will include a request to reduce the base rate and to freeze that rate at that reduced level, along with, and then freeze all of the other non-fuel line items that we just went through. And our plan is to do that for the next, is to ask, at least to get approval for that for the next 3 years. Now, this is a proposal we've been working on for quite some time over the last 2 years to give you all more certainty and stability on your bills. And so, but even with a rate reduction and a freeze, we still have to go through the rate case process. We still need approval for it. We can't raise rates or lower rates without going through that process with the regulatory commission in order to make those changes. And the process works a lot like a court case. So a judge presides over the proceedings, and it's many, many months of proceedings, and all of our costs, revenues, and the overall impact on customers is reviewed. It also includes opportunities for the public to share input on our filings, on our proposals, and an independent consumer advocate reviews the proposal on behalf of customers as well. And so then all of that evidence is collected, all of that evidence is reviewed, and then commissioners at the regulatory commission vote. And then that is then what any change would be, is what that vote is, what that order is that comes out from the commission. And then that is when a rate change can take effect for the base rates. And then when, and so with all of these other filings, it's different lengths of times for these filings, but similar type of process where we have to lay out the evidence, and then it goes through that process at the regulatory commission. And so we know, though, even with that proposal, even with a potential rate reduction and rate freeze, we know that many of you are still wondering why your bills are high right now, and why it may be higher than usual. And so that's why we want to walk through some simple steps that you can take to understand what might be driving those changes. And so to help with that, I'm going to bring Mona on because her team is talking to customers all of the time about their bills and questions, et cetera. And so Mona's going to help us walk through some of those.
Thank you, Katie. I know that was a lot of information, but we hope it helps give you a clearer picture of what's on your bill and why things might look the way they do. I'm Mona Livingston, and I lead our customer service team. My team talks with customers every single day about their bills, what feels confusing, what came as a surprise, and what might be causing those month-to-month changes. So I would like to walk you through some of the same simple steps we use when we are helping customers figure out why a bill might be higher than usual. The very first thing we look at is energy usage, how it compares to last month, and how it compares to the same time last year if you've been in your home long enough. You can see all of this in your online account too. There's daily usage, cost by day, and even the daily temperatures, so you can get a complete picture. If our team notices that your usage is higher, that's where we focus. If not, we look at other possibilities, like whether this billing cycle happened to have more days in it, or did a rate change go into effect. When usage does go up, we start with the most common reasons. Extreme weather is a big one. Heating and cooling are usually the biggest part of your energy use. And even if your thermostat never changes, your system has to work much harder when the temperature outside is way above or below what you set inside. We will also talk through any changes at home. Maybe there are more people staying there, maybe someone started working from home, or maybe certain appliances are being used more often. And sometimes the cause is something small and that's very easy to overlook. We have helped our customer discover things like a clogged dryer vent that was making the dryer run much longer than normal, an older oven that was starting to fail and using more electricity than it should, or even heating systems that are stuck on emergency or auxiliary mode during cold weather. The best part is, unless you have opted out, your home has a smart meter, which means you can actually check your usage in 15-minute increments online. We also send reports that compare your home to similar homes nearby. And if your usage looks significantly higher, that's a pretty strong sign that something needs attention, and we are happy to help you track it down. So if you ever have questions, our Customer Operations Center is available 24/7, and the number is on the screen right now. You can also chat with the customer service agent on Facebook or send us an email at imcustomerservices@aep.com. We've also added a newer option, like Katie had mentioned. You can now schedule a virtual appointment with someone from the I&M customer service team. And for your convenience, we've put a QR code on the screen, and it'll take you straight to the booking page. You can also find that link on our homepage, indianamichiganpower.com. We are also here to help you identify ways to save, whether that's switching to a different rate or joining programs that can help lower your bill or help you earn credits. And Katie will walk you through those next options. And just as a quick reminder, if you have questions during the town hall, please feel free to drop them in the chat. If you have questions about your specific account or bill, please reach out to our customer service team directly so we can give you the personalized support you need. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Katie so she can talk about the different options we offer to help making paying your bill and saving money easier.
Great. Thank you so much, Mona. And I highly encourage you, if you do have questions, please reach out to Mona's team. They do a great job helping customers walk through their bills and what may be going on. Now, we know that your energy costs can impact household decisions each month. And so we want to make sure that we are leaving plenty of time for questions if you have them. But there are a few things that I want to touch on first. And that's that's the programs that we offer. And so we're going to divide them into two categories. The first are programs that can help you pay your bills, and then those that help you save energy and money as well. So when it comes to paying your monthly electric bill, you have a few options available for support. So we have payment programs that are open to all customers, and there's a few different options there. So first, we have a payment extension. And that might be the right option for you if you know that you need just a few extra days to pay your bill in full. You can ask for an extension. The second option are payment arrangements, and that actually will help spread payments out over a few months. And so if you know that this month or at any point it's going to be a challenge to pay your bill, please reach out to us before your bill is due and set up either option. And then you can also enroll in a program called the Average Monthly Payment Plan, and we call that AMP. And this actually spreads your energy costs over the entire year, so you pay this about the same each month. So that's where the average monthly payment, so it's an average payment, about the same each month. And any difference between what you paid and then your actual usage is tracked and adjusted over time. And so this is really good for customers that want predictable bills each month. Also, as part of legislation that happened this year in Indiana and has been signed into law, anyone on an assistance program, like the federal LIHEAP program, will be defaulted to a levelized billing plan with an option to opt out. And so this is a plan that's similar to the AMP plan that I just mentioned. We call it levelized billing, but it will average that out over time. And we'll be sending out specific communications to affected customers April 1st. And then per the law, per the legislation, those defaults, if somebody hasn't opted out, they will default into that program by July 1st. And again, that's for income qualified customers that are on programs like the federal LIHEAP program. Now, if you want to help someone else with their monthly bill, we also have a program for that where you can do that through our Friends and Family Direct program. And so no account number is required. You decide the amount to give, and your loved one's account will be credited immediately upon receipt. And you can find all of that on our website. Now let's talk about saving energy. So almost all of our customers have smart meters now. And one advantage is that you have more information than ever about how you use energy. So you can go into your account, you can review your energy usage in 15-minute increments. You can also review your weekly energy update, which shows how and when you're using energy. And to access your unique report, you can just log into your I&M account, and then you navigate to account settings. And then you can also adjust your settings for other notifications. So one that a lot of people like is if you're notified of a high bill alert, you can set that up as well. Now, Mona talked earlier about troubleshooting and finding out if there are devices or areas of your home that are using more energy than you know. And so we have a couple programs that help you out with that. One is our online energy checkup. So you just answer a few questions about your home's energy usage, and we'll send qualifying customers a free energy saving kit. And this kit is limited to one every 3 years. And then we also offer income qualified weatherization. And that can help with things like insulation, ceiling leaks, other improvements, and an energy expert will work with you to identify opportunities throughout your home so that you can start saving on your monthly bill. So Mona mentioned the oven that was going bad and pulling a lot of energy every day when it was time to make dinner. So if you do end up having to upgrade any of your appliances, if you upgrade to efficient appliances and products that can help save energy, I&M partners with local retailers so that you can receive rebates on efficient appliances like washers, dryers, refrigerators, smart thermostats, all sorts of different appliances with the Energy Star logo. And then we also provide instant discounts on select products at local stores. Those are things like spray foam, door sweeps, advanced power strips, LED night lights. And you can find store locations and products at www.electricideas.com. And so I encourage you, if you're going to buy any appliance or if you're doing anything that might, use energy, check and see if there's a rebate because there might be. And so, because they do change sometimes as well of what the different measures are. So stuff might be added as you're looking. If you have seen it before, there might be something new. So feel free to check that out. And there are, if you have a smart thermostat, that's another one that we always encourage people to take advantage of our demand response programs. So that is where you can earn bill credits when you shift energy use away from peak times. And peak times are when energy use is at its highest. You can get credits if you're trying to use energy at those non-peak times. So there are a ton of options to save energy and money, get rebates, get credits on your bill. And really a small portion of your bill helps fund these energy efficiency programs. So I always tell people it's worth taking advantage of them. So you can explore these options anytime at indianamichiganpower.com or, as I mentioned, electricideas.com. That's kind of our companion website. They both connect to each other. And I do want to also highlight a special area of our website that we are creating to make it easier to find information, because we know sometimes half the battle just finding where the information is on the website. And so that is our billing support center. This is where you can find information on everything that we've covered today and more. It's also where you can learn about different rate options and make sure you're on the best one for you. You can also view a new page that we've created, which is a quarterly rate snapshot for Indiana. So earlier we walked through all those various rates that add up to your monthly bill. Each quarter, we're going to post updated information about those rates on our website. Did they increase? Did they decrease? Or did they stay the same, and why? And what impact did that have on an average monthly bill? So we created this because you deserve to have more insight into how your bill is determined. And that starts with obviously information and transparency about what's happening with those different line items. All right, so that was a lot of information. So certainly, please, if you have questions, put it in the chat. And we're going to go ahead and get started and bring up some of the questions that were sent in to us ahead of this session. So let's see. So one of the questions that have come in, and I'm actually going to call Mona and Jenny back onto the screen. Oh, Jenny, come on. Sorry about that. So call them both. They're the experts. So first off, Jenny, a lot of people just have a lot of questions when we're out and about too about why there are so many line items on the bill. Like why all of that? It's overwhelming. Can you answer that?
Yeah, sure thing, Katie. And as Katie walked us through at the beginning of the call, there certainly are quite a few line items on the bill. We totally understand that can be a little bit overwhelming. And hopefully, Katie's explanation has brought some clarity and there's a little less confusion as to what each of those line items are. But all of those line items, as Katie has mentioned, are riders. And I&M uses riders because they allow us to adjust rates for specific costs quickly and transparently without having having to go through a long base rate case process. So the majority of the riders, as Katie had described, collect specific variable costs, such as fuel and purchase power costs, or environmental compliance expenses, energy efficiency programs, and so on. These costs generally vary from month to month, so keeping these costs on a rider keeps pricing accurate. Riders are also subject to regular scrutiny, from the commission, and we perform true-up calculations at least once a year for all of those riders to ensure that the rates that are set are recovering the tracked costs and expenses actually incurred to serve you. If there's any variance, if there's an over collection, that's returned to the customers.
Thank you. So Mona, I think this is a good one for you. One of the questions that came in was just frustration in general about not knowing what to do to keep their bill from going up. And I know we hear that a lot. So anything you want to expand on related to that?
Yeah, sure. So yes, that is something that my team hears a lot on calls with customers, and this is something we help customers identify, like what is the root cause of their usage going up. And I will say the first thing every single customer should definitely do is track your energy usage, so you are aware of how much energy you are using at any given day or 15-minute increment. There are other tools as well that I&M offers to customers to help reduce their expenses and usage. Weatherization of your home is a good one. And there are some programs for income qualified customers that help with that. If you are in the market for buying new appliances, please take a look at the discounts and rebates we offer on electricideas.com. You definitely want to try look for the Energy Star rating when you're buying a new appliance. And if there is a situation where you need help with payment options, we do have that information on our website as well. And if all of this is overwhelming to navigate, you don't have to do any of it. All you need to do is go schedule an appointment with one of our team members, and we will walk through your bill, walk through your situation with you, and give you the support that you need.
Yeah, and I would definitely say if anything seems off or it seems like your usage is out of whack from normal, that's why we have those summaries on there. Reach out, because we have seen a lot of people that have posted things and we're like, ooh, that it looks like there might be something going on there that we'd love to talk with you and figure out what that may be. So please reach out. That's what we're here for. So we certainly have had a lot of questions around data centers, and just, people will ask, why am I paying for data centers? Or, are data centers going to increase my rates? And so, one of the things that I mentioned earlier was around our rate reduction and rate freeze. And, a lot of times people will think that if there's a lot of extra load or energy usage being added to the grid, that means then it also adds to your rates moving forward. Actually, it's a little bit of the opposite. So as we've increased load and as those data centers bring more load on, I mentioned those fixed costs that are included in your monthly service charge and then in the current billing. Those fixed costs get spread among more kilowatt hours or more customers, and that actually helps bring downward pressure on rates instead of upward pressure. So that rate reduction and rate freeze is really possible because of the data centers that are coming into I&M's territory. And what we decided to do, I think it was a couple of years ago, and it got approved last year, was a large load tariff. And this really outlines every single thing that the data centers have to pay for, how everything gets what the data centers are responsible for if they want to come to I&M service territory. It's all laid out in that public tariff. And so that, that has things like long-term commitments from these customers. They're paying 100% of the energy that they use. They are, paying for costs for infrastructure that they need to their site. And then they also have commitments around making sure that if they end up not using as much energy as they told us, that they are still paying for 80% of that, even if they're not using it. So they pay 100% of the energy that they use but they're also paying 80% of any energy that they said they were going to use but didn't. So there are a lot of those constructs in there to make sure that customers don't bear the burden of data centers, and that we're able to share those benefits, like with this rate reduction and rate freeze. But certainly if there's other questions around data centers, we're happy to answer those. All right, so Mona, another question that people had was just why does it seem that my energy usage has gone up since you installed my smart meter?
So a meter just registers the amount of energy you do use. It does not change how much energy you use. A smart meter is a part of I&M's grid modernization. It is just measuring the usage more accurately. The benefits are, because it's a smart meter that's communicating with wireless technology, you are able to now look into your usage at 15-minute increments, which empowers you to identify the periods of time when you are using more electricity, and then go look for help you find the root cause of what is causing this additional usage. It also helps during storm events, because when you lose power, we can identify very quickly that your meter is not active because of the smart meter technology. So we don't necessarily always have to rely on you calling an outage anymore. And vice versa. So when we power you back on, we know that you now have power because your meter is now active. It is definitely, the purpose of a smart meter is definitely to empower you with more information, allow better communication and awareness to give better customer service.
Great. And then we did get a lot of questions sent to us in advance just to explain the various line items on the bill. So hopefully we did cover a lot of that. And then as mentioned, we're going to make sure that we have that information on our website in the Bill Support Center. We do have a bill explainer right now, but I think we can make it a little simpler probably to understand some of that. So we are going to update that and make sure that that's on our website as well. So if you don't remember what I said today as far as the different line items, we will have that in other locations in the future as well, so that you can look back and make sure you know what you're paying for. So Mona, one of the questions that came in as well was around the Go Green program and how it shows up on your bill. And does it show up on the quarterly rate site for impact to riders like EPA compliance?
So I'm going to start off, and then Jenny, I might need your help in completing my answer. So the rider provides options to customers to support solar power and attribute all or part of their energy use to solar power. This is absolutely optional, and customers can choose from 3 options. The local renewable program option is available on a voluntary basis to metered customers who desire to purchase renewable power energy from I&M's solar, wind, and hydro generation resources through the purchase of RECs, which are renewable energy certificate, and they're sourced from I&M's renewable resources. The second option is the National Renewable Program option, and is available on a voluntary basis as well to metered customers who want to purchase these RECs, again, renewable energy certificates, sourced from resources within the United States. So not necessarily I&M footprint, but anywhere within the United States. And the custom agreement option, which is available to, and this is the part where Jenny, but I'm going to need your help. So taking metered service or multiple metered services with common ownership of a single parent company that can aggregate multiple accounts over 1,000 kilowatt hours with monthly peak demand. So this is, Jenny, where we need your expertise to explain this to our customers.
All right, Mona, I'm just going to take a quick peek at that again. So
and I think it's really just how it shows up on the bill. So I think it's a separate line item, right? So the bill that we went through is a traditional, just like kind of your average bill. But if you are in a special program like the Go Green program or something like that, it will show up as a separate line item in your bill. Correct, Jenny?
That's right, Katie. And as far as I think that the that's a program that, as Katie had mentioned, and Mona, you actually have to elect in to participate in. And so our current standard like monthly bill calculator template that's available online, and I think that the information that's provided in the billing center that Mona and Katie had mentioned as well, that's not a traditional rate that's included in everyone's bill. Like I had mentioned, it's an elective program. So I don't think that's currently available on the bill calculator. However, that rate is available in the tariff book. And so you'd be able to easily recalculate that or contact Mona's team and they can help you walk through it and ensure, how that's being calculated and being presented on your bill if that's something you choose to participate in.
So another question came in about what is the power company's view on CO2 and its effect on the environment? And so one of the things when we're looking at all of our resources, one of the things that we really focus on is having a diverse portfolio. And so I&M has an incredibly diverse portfolio with many different generating resources. And we find that that's such a benefit to our customers for a variety of reasons. One, from a reliability standpoint. Two, from a cost standpoint, because when you have a diversity of resources, you can make sure that you have 24/7 power with certain types of resources like nuclear, natural gas, and coal. But then you can hedge against, say, additional fuel costs, et cetera, when you have things like solar, wind, and hydroelectric. And I&M has all of those different resources. Cook Nuclear is a nuclear power plant that we have up in Bridgman, Michigan. This has served our customers well for over 50 years now. And it provides a large portion of the energy, non-emissions energy that we provide to our customers. Then we also have, like I said, all of those other types of resources as well. We're also looking at small modular reactors, so smaller nuclear reactors in the future, and then also looking at battery storage as well. So certainly see diverse resources as a key to providing reliable and affordable power for our customers. All right. So another question is about a topic that is always interesting when you see the cause of an outage, and that is squirrels. So what is being done to reduce wildlife and squirrels, on the lines and causing outages? So one of the things that we do is we track what caused the outage. So was it a tree, was it a squirrel, et cetera. So that is one thing, is like we're looking at what is the overall cause of outages and then making sure that we're hardening the system and hardening the grid against those causes. So that would be things like our tree trimming program, making sure we're being extremely strategic and targeted where we have increased outages due to trees. And then certainly with wildlife, you might see a lot of those, they're those black kind of, I don't know, like little ring around the poles. That is one of the ways we're trying to do that. And you see a lot of the utilities use those to prevent the animals from climbing up the poles. And certainly looking at all sorts of other technology. But that seems to be one of the best ones and one of the most common ones that we use is those rings around the poles so that they can't climb up. But unfortunately, sometimes they do get in the lines, and we will respond as quickly as we can to get your power back on. Great. Let's see, I'm trying to see if there's any other questions. It looks like I know there's a little bit of a delay, so I want to just make sure that I'm waiting and not cutting anybody off that might be typing right now. But it looks like that is it for questions from today. And then, like I said, we went through a lot of the themes and the questions that came in prior to when people registered as well. So thank you all so much for your time today. Again, we know that there are lots of different ways you could spend your time, and this is probably not the most exciting topic that people could go through, but we do appreciate it, and certainly we are here to answer your questions. You should absolutely know what you're paying for, why you're paying for it, And it's our job to make that easier on you and to be able to explain that. So, don't hesitate to reach out. If you do have questions, schedule time with our team members. You can reach us also on social media or other places. And we're trying to improve our website and our resources there to give you better answers as well. And so thank you all very much. We do appreciate it. And if there's anything that we didn't answer, we will make sure that we send anything out, or if there's anything that you want us to answer in the future, please let us know. Anything, I think there was maybe at least one thing that we needed to follow up on here. So we will make sure that we get an answer to any of those questions that we couldn't answer today, and get that out to you. All right. Well, thank you so much on behalf of the entire INM team. Have a great St. Patrick's Day and be safe out there.